It started with a smile, not the fake cheesy kind, but the kind that's been practiced in the mirror, polished for the cameras, and sharpened like a blade. Meghan Markle knew exactly what she was doing when she invited Kern Lima onto her show. On paper, it looked like a strategic masterstroke. Jaime was a self-made billionaire, a beauty mogul, and the embodiment of grit over glam. Meghan needed some of that realness to rub off on her brand. But behind the scenes, that's where the whole carefully crafted image began to unravel, because this wasn't to women having a vulnerable heart-to-heart. According to Jaime, it was a fully scripted production down to the tears. Meghan's team didn't just suggest topics, they laid out a full blueprint. Emotional triggers, tear cues, even exact camera angles to catch the perfect glisten in her eyes. The whole thing felt more Netflix drama than real-life podcast. And here's the twist. When the cameras cut, the soft-spoken Duchess vanished. Jaime said Meghan flipped like a switch. Cold, calculated, all business. The transformation was so shocking it haunted her. Jaime had enough. She didn't run to the tabloids or toss shade in some coded interview. No, she went straight to her own podcast, the same one Meghan had appeared on, and told her story. Filters, no sugarcoating. She said everything was fake. The emotions, the pauses, the tone, all manufactured. What the audience thought was raw and real was actually directed and delivered. It wasn't a conversation, it was a scene. And the internet lost its mind. People couldn't believe it. How Jaime spoke up, but who was saying it? Jaime wasn't some D-list clout chaser. She was respected, successful, and known for keeping it real. Her calling Meghan out hit different, because Meghan's entire brand is built on truth-telling, authenticity, and vulnerability. But now, Jaime was saying it was all a lie, a performance designed to manipulate, and worse, to monetize. And when the relatable Duchess is exposed as a master manipulator, people feel betrayed. And Jaime wasn't backing down. She said she kept quiet at first to avoid drama. But once the episode aired and her inbox was flooded with people thanking her for how real Meghan was, she couldn't stomach it. She felt like she'd helped promote a lie. That's when everything flipped. Meghan wasn't just under fire from trolls, she was being called out by someone from within the circle, a guest, a supposed friend. And not for slight exaggerations, but for deception, scripting pain, manufacturing, RELATABILITY. Sources say Meghan was furious, screaming at her team, demanding the episode be taken down and a statement issued, but Jaime didn't flinch. In fact, she promised more proof, teasing receipts in an upcoming Q&A. That's when Hollywood started watching closely. This wasn't tabloid gossip anymore, it was a full-on brand meltdown. Meghan wasn't just valuable because of her royal title, it was her image as an honest, heart-led woman. That's what brands bought into. But now, PR teams were nervous, clients were whispering, can we trust her? And the scariest part? No one knew the answer anymore. Behind closed doors, Meghan's team scrambled to contain the fallout. They'd done damage control before, but this was different. This wasn't a salty reporter. This was Kern Lima, a powerhouse with no incentive to lie. Her whole legacy is built on being authentic. And when she says Meghan faked everything, people don't just listen, they believe her. And Meghan's carefully crafted comeback may have just hit a wall at full speed. She wasn't just chasing fame. Meghan was rebuilding a modern royal empire. Think influencer partnerships, wellness branding, production pitches, and a whole soft rebrand dripping in faith, healing, and light. She was aiming for her own Oprah lane. But then came the red flag. Meghan wasn't invited to a private Montecito dinner hosted by Oprah's own circle. In Hollywood, silence speaks loud. No invite means no trust. And the timing couldn't have been worse. The podcast drama set off a chain reaction. Meghan's name started vanishing from high-level conversations. Boardrooms cooled. PR reps pulled back. One insider at a luxury brand admitted their campaign deal with Meghan was suddenly on hold. Nobody wanted to gamble, not when manipulative was trending beside her name. This is someone who once locked in a $20 million Spotify deal. Now the word is Netflix might be next to walk. And that's not speculation, that's buzz from inside the house. Because the real issue isn't just that podcast episode, it's the pattern. People started rewatching, rereading, and rethinking everything. Her Spotify show Archetypes was slammed for being shallow. That Invictus documentary? Underwhelming numbers. Her titles kept changing. Duchess Truffler, Mental. Health Voice, Girl Boss. Now Spiritual Guide. And each one came with a costume change and brand switch. But now, it's starting to look like a long con. Suddenly, people are questioning everything, even the Oprah interview. The trembling voice, the teary pauses, the realness all now under suspicion. Was it performance art? That emotional wedding? speech that sounded like a TED Talk rewritten. The whole image from victim to visionary is now seen as a series of brand pivots. According to Jaime, even podcast emotions were mapped in advance. Not just branding, but directing. Manufactured. Grief sold as authenticity. And that revelation hit hard, because when your entire brand rests on being real, and someone credible says it's all scripted, that lights a match under everything. Even producers who once worked with Meghan started talking. One Netflix editor said she demanded Final Cut, not just to look polished, but to control the message. Another said it felt like editing a docuseries, where the star wanted to be the director, showrunner, and editor all at once. The fallout was instant. Fans who rode for Meghan were now tweeting, "I defended her for years, and now I feel duped." That summed it up. This wasn't just anger, it was heartbreak. People weren't mad at the performance, they were mad they believed it. And while Meghan's team scrambled behind closed doors, exploring lawsuits, hiring crisis PR, even floating a tell-all, public opinion was slipping. Worse, Jaime wasn't done. She hinted at releasing raw audio, unedited, unscripted from the infamous podcast taping. And the teaser, devastating. Jaime sat at the mic.com and clear. This isn't about tearing someone down. It's about truth, and I still have the tapes. That one sentence broke the internet. TikTok exploded. Reddit threads launched instantly. Everyone wanted to hear what Meghan said when she thought no one was watching, and Hollywood panicked. Publicists were sweating. Producers went silent. Meghan's inner circle shrank. Some longtime supporters ghosted, others went on record distancing themselves. One former collaborator told Variety, "It's not even about drama anymore, it's survival." No one wants to get dragged into the fallout when your allies start disappearing. That's not gossip, that's career collapse. In real time, even her nonprofit Archwell wasn't safe. The brand built around compassion-driven storytelling was suddenly under the microscope. Donors wanted answers. Was the impact real, or just another perfectly lit illusion? Multiple sponsors reportedly began reevaluating their involvement. The brand Meghan spent years building was now hanging by a thread, and the scissors might be in Jaime's hand. When your charity's integrity is tied to your personal brand, a hit like this isn't just a bruise, it bleeds. The fallout wasn't theoretical anymore. If Dior pulled the plug, if Netflix backed out, if production deals dried up, Meghan's empire, already shaky after the Spotify debacle, could completely collapse. This wasn't just about image, it was about income. And suddenly, the cracks weren't symbolic, they were financial. What rattled people wasn't just the idea that Meghan had flaws, it was the growing suspicion that the flaws were carefully concealed, that authenticity wasn't who she was, it was a role she played, that every quiver in her voice, every misty-eyed moment, was edited for maximum impact. People believed her because they thought she was exposing the system. Now it looked like she'd been exploiting it all along. And here's what made Jaime's confession so powerful. It didn't feel like an attack. It felt like regret. She didn't show up with smoke and vengeance. She sounded drained, like someone who finally had to let the truth out after sitting with it too long. Her podcast wasn't a takedown. It was a reckoning. She admitted she unknowingly played into the script, and that's what hit hardest. Not rage, but remorse. Meanwhile, one name kept echoing in the background. Oprah, the woman who gave Meghan her biggest platform, now completely silent. No tweets, no statements, not even a "let's wait and see." The silence was deafening. Rumors flew. Oprah's team was furious, blindsided, even betrayed. Some insiders claimed they felt manipulated, that the now iconic interview may have been more theatrical than truthful. And that's when things got existential. Because if Oprah could be misled, who hasn't been? If that royal bombshell sit-down wasn't authentic, what else was curated? Jaime's next episode teased behind the scenes. Receipts, raw audio, off-camera tension, even alleged manipulations by Meghan's team. And once that drops, the spin cycle might come to a full stop. No edits, no filters, just facts. Meghan's team, sources say, is in full panic mode. Crisis meetings, legal threats, hushed phone calls to brand partners. They're trying to contain the narrative before it burns to the ground, but according to people on the inside, it may already be too late. The backlash isn't just about PR anymore, it's about culture. The myth of the woman who used her trauma to inspire is unraveling, because now the narrative has flipped. Meghan didn't use pain to elevate a platform. She used the platform to manufacture the pain, and in the court of public opinion, that hits harder than any headline. The scariest part. This time, she doesn't control the footage. The cameras are still rolling, but they're not in her hands.